Magic.
Right, so that's recording now. Should see a thing in your corner saying record. And then what I'll do at the end, I'll just send you a Dropbox link of it.
Lovely, thank you. Lovely. Yeah.
No worries.
Can we go into it? I'll do a quick little intro, and then, as you say,
yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Hey guys, it's James Lambert here, and you join me for what will be the first of many chats with some beautiful men that are really all about inspiring us in these uncertain times. And today's talk, I actually talked to a gentleman called Damien Rider. He is an athlete, author, and adventurer, but that only begins to describe some of the monumental things this man has done. Anyway, I'm going to get straight into it because I'm super excited to speak to him. So without further ado, Damien Rider, welcome, my friend.
G'day, mate. How you going? It's been a long time, since long time coming, I guess, since we've spoken face to face. Like we've had conversations over social media over the last sort of few years, and nearly connected when I nearly came over to the UK to do some things. But it's been great to watch you grow over the years and watch you keep on being consistent with what you're doing.
Yeah, well, likewise, and thank you for your kind words. But you have, since I came across your work, I believe it's as long ago as 7.5 or 8 years now, it's continued to inspire me. And likewise, the way you've gone from strength to strength, your speaking platform on TEDx, and in particular, we'll come on to it. I don't want to start with that, but in particular, your humanitarian work for some of the charities you do. And for those that don't know, and I know you'll talk about this, it's the fact that you push your mind and body to the limit, but not just for it's your own egoic satisfaction. The fact that you do it to raise tremendous amounts of money is beautiful. But if I may, Damien, just to kick this lovely talk off, can you talk very briefly on your background? What was it like being Damien Rider growing up, and where indeed did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in a place called Adelaide in South Australia, and it was a pretty confusing time for me. I grew up in with child abuse and domestic violence household, and just trying to deal with that. And it wasn't like I could talk to my mother at all because she went through the same thing. So she was pretty much emotionally detached from everything that was going on. And in those times, she couldn't really talk to police or neighbours or anything. Everyone just sort of closed their eyes and shut the doors and everything to what was going on, and just didn't want to know about it really. So I spent a bit of times living on the streets and running out of home, in the middle of the night, and hiding down the beaches and rock caves, and just doing whatever I could do to stay outside the house. And that just, stayed with me. And I just didn't realize how much it was staying with me until I got into my, mid-adulthood of like mid-20s. And, things just started to really become a burden on me. And like everything that I was doing in life was just, attacking me. And, like yourself, like when you grow up with violence, that becomes your normal. And, it's amazing what becomes normal in your life compared to other people, and what other people don't really understand, So yeah, so it was pretty confusing. It was just like little demons just hanging on my shoulders, like for most of my life. And, just going up and down and just trying to feed that beast any way that I could, but also, same time, just looking for that healing process along the way, and trying everything along the way. What everyone else is telling me how I should be healing, it should be your fitness, it should go and talk to someone, it's your nutrition, it's just everything under the sun. And of course, you don't want to keep spiraling out of control. So you just, you keep searching it and trying these new things, even if they're just little fad gimmicks, you bloody give everything a go, don't you?
Yeah, no. Can you talk briefly on what was school like for you, Damien? Was school a good place? Was that a place of refuge?
Look, it should have been a place of refuge for sure, but it wasn't. Like I was pretty intuitively smart at school, and I think because I was a bit of a rat bag, that the teachers just most of the times thought I was just being disruptive, or I was cheating, or this or that. I was like this genius at maths for some reason. Like I would see one of those sums on the board that, you know, went the whole way across and you got to do the whole board's worth of working out and everything and see how you get this number. And I'd just look at the big number and go, oh, it's this, and just write the answer. Maybe like, you've cheated. I'm like, how have I cheated? You wrote it on the board. I've walked up here. Is that the answer or not? I'm like, yeah, but you got to do the working out. I'm like, why do I need to show the working out if that's the answer? Why do I need to go through that whole process when that's the answer there? I've got the shortcut to it, you know. I don't know how to do it, but that's the answer. So it was kind of like, you know, and then I'd get put on detention. I'd get the cane. I'd get the beach ball bat. I'd have all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, what's going on here? So I'm getting flogged at home and I'm getting flogged at school. And I'm like, you know, but still wanted to keep on staying in there. But, you know, the sports side of things in school always kept me in there. Like I always played multiple disciplines of sports, and like, you know, soccer and cricket and football and baseball and, you know, track and everything. So I always sort of was always good at that. And then just skateboarding as well, you know.
Yeah. I wanted to come on to that because you're known today as a man with indeed actual multiple world records for endurance events. At what point did you gravitate towards that in your journey, Damien? How did endurance sports specifically come into your life?
Well, I mean, looking back, I was always an endurance athlete, you know, just from what I'd endured as a child, you know, being outside the house and not sleeping for, you know, all night, and then putting myself through school the next day and, you know, still staying up. So, you know, sometimes 24, 48 hours, you know, as a 6-year-old kid, 9-year-old kid, like just doing everything I could. And then skateboarding like all day, 13, 15 hours a day, just get up, skate from sun up to past sundown and all over the city and all the ramps and all the bowls and all the drains, and just sort of just skate everywhere. So I was kind of always building myself up to be an endurance athlete. And then, you know, and then I had times where, like, I'd always played sports and, you know, went into martial arts and everything as well. And, you know, I was one of those people that just, you know, would tape the right hand up and just use the left because that was like no good. So I want to get good on the left. So I just 8 hours, just punch, punch, punch. The next day, tape that hand up and punch, 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 you know.
Yeah.
So I was always to the extreme like that. And then it wasn't, you know, and then I sort of come to a point where I just broke myself all the way back down to rebuild myself again. And, you know, and I just started combining everything that I'd done all over my life to rebuild myself, you know, and really dissect things out, you know. And being an endurance athlete, you know, I started to acknowledge that of, you know, my resilience to be able to keep on going. And plus the sports I'd always played in the multiple disciplines of sports. So, you know, it started to gravitate towards that way, and I'd always trained as well. And then, you know, my first event, the big paddle, you know, I really wanted to do something that had a bit of time in on it, so I could just share that message of, you know, against child abuse, and really
Yes.
give the media that time to be able to come with me and get the social media audience as well to jump on board or to see what I'm doing and to follow that journey along, you know. So that's just how it started off. And then I just kept on doing that just for that specific reason, you know, to show people what you can overcome.
Yes, Damien, you're far too humble to obviously talk about it yourself. So I need to prompt you there. You mentioned the one big pedal, but can you tell those that will listen to this what that encountered? Because it is truly monumental, and it quite frankly, I find it amazing. So can you please tell us what that entailed and what you put your body and mind through?
Yeah, so I trained pretty much full time for 8 months, and when I thought I was ready, I just you know, January 3rd, 2015, I walked down to my local beach and this paddleboard, you know, paddling by my hands, put it in the water and just started paddling. So for 17 days, I paddled for 500 miles or 800 kilometers along, you know. So I was alone, you know, there was no support on land or in the water as well. It was just me paddling along. And the thing about it is, you know, it wasn't a race, it wasn't a competition, there was no trophy at the end, there was no ribbon, there was no t-shirt, there was nothing like that, you know. It was just me doing something that no one else in the world had ever done before, and not for that reason, but like I said, just raise awareness and also do something that I was proud of also, you know. And but I got far much more out of it from doing the paddle that forever keeps giving to me and to everyone else around the world. And that's what I just thought I was going to do this paddling and just go back to my regular life. And, the skincare label, I was designing compression wear, and I just thought I'd go back to that, but I just couldn't at that time. So, yeah, this is the path that was just sort of chosen for me out of how I was built from ground up, I guess, to be able to keep on moving forward.
Yes. Damien, can I ask, because something that fascinates me and something I want to hopefully relay to our audience is, they term it sometimes in psychology, the dark night of the soul. Now, far from being a worrisome place, I actually believe great pain can actually be a stimulus to a breakthrough, as it were. So far from being a breakdown, again, like linking it to these times, there's a lot of worry, but in times of worry, great certainty and profound clarity can come from that. So my question to you is, was there, and if so, was there a point in that journey, those 17, 18 nights, where you wanted to give up, but where did you go in your mind? What did you think of to keep going, Where did you go, may I ask?
Well, I mean, the first little thought came into my head about 5 minutes into it. I was just like, what the bloody hell are you doing?
Yeah.
And because it's not like I could ask you advice, I'd only just got the board back, hadn't tested it out, all that sort of stuff. I was just like, fuck, here I go. But I'm on the mission, so I'm going to keep on going. But yeah, look, things crept into my mind. The first couple of sharks that I encountered, it's just like, what am I doing out here? But kept on going, and then just got to a point about on the end of the fourth day, and just wasn't so much the physical pain because I trained up pretty hard for it, but it was just the emotional pain from my past coming forward, and it was really weighing heavy on me, and just the monkey mind was twisting around and having some bad thoughts, and when you got that time to yourself in the water, it's there's a lot to think about, everything that had been done to me, what I'd done to other people as well throughout my life. And, there was a lot of forgiveness and acceptance, I guess, more so of why things happened. And, but at the same time, um, it was decompressing everything, and allowing everything to come out, desensitizing it, allowing everything to come out, as new information, more natural information, like the movement of the water and the wind and the sun and all those sorts of things, were coming in on top of me, so instead of just trying to mask it with calling someone, picking up the phone, looking at social media, going to have a beer with the mates or whatever it might be, all the other vices that we tend to do, so it's no really to turn. So everything was all just coming forward, and I knew it needed to as well. I hadn't really experienced anything that heavy. Like we all have demons that sit on our shoulders and have chats to us, but I'd never experienced anything really that heavy before. So, I thought I was done when I came in on the fourth night, and then I got up the next morning and it was just this beautiful overcast day, and the water was so clear and so just still. And I just started paddling, and I just really felt calm, and my body was relaxed and my mind was relaxed, and it was just like I saw everything through, and everything had come through and passed. It was like, it was, we say there's this thing about letting go, but it wasn't quite letting go. It wasn't a forceful action of letting go. It was just, as I said, just desensitized, and it was gone, So maybe the thoughts were there, except them just being sitting on my shoulder as they had done for the last 34 years. I really had to search for them and like look for them. And when I did see glimpses of them, like in my mind, there was no emotional attachment to it. So it was just something I was able just to enjoy just for a minute. And then I was really just able to enjoy the paddle, just paddle along and just me in the ocean and look at my next destination. Even though that was a 13-hour paddle that day, non-stop, it was fine. I was just cruising along, and I saw a couple of white pointers along the way, and they didn't even bother me at all. I just said, "G'day, mate," just sort of kept on paddling through, and things had really changed. So the whole aim of the paddle had changed as well. Like I was still going in the same direction as I was supposed to, except willing to die for my cause. I'm now living for it. you know. So it's just that little twist around of why I was doing this. And also just, I knew by that time that there were so many people who had been in my situation as a child living vicariously through me, that I just wanted to, I had them as well, you know. So the paddle became so much bigger than just the paddle or just raising awareness or just myself, you know, so much more. And I could see that was happening.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. There is some profound insight there. I'm going to go back and listen to something you said there, Damien, that really struck a chord with me. Instead of being prepared to die for my cause, I was prepared to live for it. That to me is like, that really is made like an emotion that's almost visceral. That's beautiful. Because I think so many of us, particularly men, it's, you know what, I've come to realize that particularly when you're angry or full of rage, it's actually easier to die for things. It's almost accepted to be, you know, to go out, you know, a warrior that goes out with it on his shield, but actually to live for something, I found to be, dare I say, more difficult. But thank you for saying that. But also something you said again in that beautiful passage about taking the emotional charge out of thoughts. For as we know, we can't stop them. But so you don't let things go. You can't forget what's been done to us, and maybe even more so what we've done to others. But taking that emotional sting out of it. That is very, very well said. So thank you. And I hope people get something out of that. So moving on, if we may, from some of your more physical endeavors, can you talk about briefly, can you talk about your one breath meditations and some of the inner work as opposed to your outer work, Damien, that you've moved on to since?
Yeah. So, you know, I knew after doing the paddle that something special had happened to me, and I just really wanted to test it out. And that's what the rest of my challenges were about. It's just about testing out if, you know, these demons had it really gone. And that was about pushing my physical self to breaking point. And with the physical pain comes the emotional pain. So I really wanted to test that out and see where I was sitting with it. And then once I knew that the emotional pain from my past had gone, and I had no attachment to it, I just wanted to work out what had happened. You know, how did I do that? And also, you know, people have always said, and I'm sure they said to you as well, is how you're able to keep on going. You know, it's not just how you're able to keep on going during a fight, during an event, but it's during life as well. You know, where other people haven't been able to, or they've checked out or whatever. You know, so I just thought I really owed that to other people and to myself, you know, to have an answer, because I'd never really had an answer. I'm like, oh, I just keep going, you know. But I really want to understand how I was able to keep going on the paddle and how I was able to keep going through everything else in my life as well. You know, I've had my ups and downs and everything, but you know, I've really tested myself and pushed myself through my life and challenged myself and tried to get the most out of myself that I could as well, trying to understand my worth, I guess. And so yeah, and that's how the brainchild of one breath meditation begun. You know, everything came back down to my breath, and you know, in different situations, and same thing in between rounds. Like when I was boxing, like I, you know, would stand in the corner instead of sitting down and just control myself with my breath, and you know, not trying just to intimidate the guy, but just to trick myself that I was calmer than what I was, you know, let the heart pump away and just stay calm within my breath. It calmed my mind as well. So I was ready to go back in rather than, you know, short of breath. And then started to understand that shortness of breath, you know, it's the same as if you're going into a panic attack, anxiety, rage, you know, it's that fight or flight. You're breathing up here into your chest. So I just really started to dissect everything down, and then all the lessons that I'd been shown and taught along the way from different therapists and practitioners and gurus all along the way, you know, with breathing techniques and mantra ohms and EMDR therapy, using vibrations, and also what I knew intuitively about moving, keeping on moving and the progressiveness, you know, as well. So I just started to combine everything through. And once I started putting it together and started running the meditation courses for the men, then it just started to mold into itself, you know. And I just went back to my intuition and just knew what was going to work and knew what had worked for me over the years, and knew what parts had worked for other people, but not also, you know. So even though it's the word meditation, I guess it's it's a breath connection reprocessing is the system really, and that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to reprocess our mind and our thoughts of what's going on, and our breath as well. We get through school, we get told to breathe incorrectly, breathe into our chest rather than down to our intuition, into our belly. So it's about reprocessing that. And then while we're learning that and progressing along as well, then everything else from our past doesn't just hang in there dormant. It starts moving. So everything inside of us and all our emotions and all our physical self is able to keep on moving forward. So that's why it's that whole reprocessing movement, what you do rather than just getting stuck in it.
Beautiful. Damien, have you got a fairly short tip, strategy or technique specifically on that very point that you could share that people may find, particularly who are self-isolating now or beginning to have early stage panic attacks, that they could do at home?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's quite simple. I mean, there's a big process to it to have a full connection to it, but in simple terms, it's just breathing in through the nose with a little bit of force, filling the belly, hold it for 2 beats, and slowly release it through your mouth, and as slow as you can through your mouth. And with that, that's 3 conscious decisions that you have to make to breathe in hard, hold in your belly, and slowly release through your mouth. So while you're doing that, everything else around and everything else that's going on in your head has to stop for a sec while you just concentrate on that, because you can't do both of those things at the same time. So in that time, it just gives back to yourself and just disconnects you from everything out around there, like what's going on all around us, like now, all around the world, what's happening all around us in front of our eyes, and what's happening within our head as well. So meditation for me, it's not about, people get so confused about it, thinking that they've got to sit in a quiet place and they've got to still their mind and all this and that. But really, for me, it's just about disconnect and reconnect. When you disconnect from whatever's happening, reconnect, give back to yourself. And whether that's 25 minutes or whether that's in one breath, that's what you need to be doing. For people to sit there for 25 minutes was absolutely no thoughts. That's years and years of training and practice and everything. And you got to remember, meditation was designed 7,000 years ago, where they just sat out in the bush. There wasn't much going on around. So I just felt it needed to evolve. We live in a more complex world, and when you go through trauma, just different complex layers come on. So it doesn't take just one process to be able to peel everything back. It's like mixed martial arts. That's why it's called mixed martial arts. They know just being a boxer is not going to win, just being jiu-jitsu is not going to win, just being judo is not going to win. It's about combining them all together. And that's why Bruce Lee came up with his style back in the days. He combined everything together. He created everything from CrossFit to MMA to, he knew that, that not one style is going to beat everything. We need to combine everything to be able to give back to ourselves, to share with other people. So it's the same process.
Beautiful. No, thank you. Well said, Damien. Now, moving, as you know, I particularly love to talk, and I'm very interested in how your careers as a speaker has gone, Damien. Particularly, being invited to speak for TEDx. Can you talk about your career as a speaker, please? Also.
Yeah, look, I mean, it wasn't something that I like a career path I thought I was going to go into, but I just started to be asked to speak at a couple of things, and I like sharing. Like, I just started at schools, really, like naughty schools would ask me to come and speak and motivate the kids and show a little bit of my film. And so I just sort of started that way. And, it's not so much, for me, it's not so much about giving the talks and people sitting there listening, but for me, the best part of the talks are the Q&As at the end. It's one thing for me to share what I think they want to know, but it's another thing for them to ask the questions that they really want the answers for, So for me, that's a special time. That's why I love doing schools, because certain questions come up. And then it's when the seminar's finished, and then there's those 10 or so people that come up afterwards who were not comfortable enough to ask the question while everyone's there. And that's a special moment. These are the people that you can really help. And usually when I do talks now, I know who's going to come up at the end just from my eyes gazing around. But look, the talks are great. I love doing them, and I do all sorts of talks now, which is cool. And TEDx talks, it's a great platform, and it's a good brand to be a part of as well. So I was pretty happy to do that, and being able to do one in Asia and one in LA also. But yeah, they're cool, and it's such a learning thing when you do a TED talk as well. Like a lot of talks, you're pretty free flowing.
Mm.
And but they're really structured. You got 8 minutes to sort of 13 minutes to get your message out there. It's just based on one message, so you sort of got to dissect your whole life just to put it down to that one topic that you want to speak about, and then get that message out there in the time and in a nice flow also. So there's a little bit more work that goes into it usually, and so that's the side of it that I like as well. And also at TED Talks, you get to converse with amazing other people who are up there talking as well. So it's kind of win-win for those talks for me.
Lovely. Now, Damien, I just wanted to ask about coming a bit up to the present day. What were you doing? What was normal life like for you just before this current crisis struck? What were you doing? What were you in the midst of preparing for? Or?
I was in Tulum, Mexico, just hanging out on the beach, just
Oh,
training and just living a pretty good life. I've started a few projects, and then my book got released, One Breath Meditation, and I'd
nice.
just come over to Memphis, where I was going to start my book tour around the US. And so yeah, so everything, I just started that, and I was, there was some sort of sponsorship deals that we're working on, and TV series and films, and there was a lot of things that were all about to drop, that I've been working really hard for. And like everyone else, everything just stopped. So it's just, I didn't care though. A lot of people are pretty stressed about it, and I can understand why. But for me, it's just about, having that little shift and keeping on going. You're still on the same path. You're still doing the same thing. You're not stuck. You're just altering things, And for me, I think that's how I gauge success for myself and other people. It's not just about how hard you can get hit and keep on getting up, but it's about not letting it bother you, keeping that momentum going all the time, and just being able to easily divert around. And it might take you, like I said, one breath and go, all right, well, things have changed a bit, but here we go. We'll keep on going. You just keep altering and just keep adjusting. And
Yes.
it's that's just how it is. Like everyone's sort of got plans, I guess, of how they'd like to see things happen. But it's just it's your choices you make when they don't happen.
Yes.
To be able to keep going.
Yes. Damien, can you share a little bit of what I'm just thinking with a view to passing on some of your maybe daily practices, stroke routines that might help some of the men listening? Just what you do every day now, just to keep you in a good place spiritually, emotionally, physically, and so on, mentally.
Well, I mean, like I said, like I've always got my goals going forward. So none of that changes. For me, it doesn't really matter what happens in the world. Like if there's war, if there's viruses or whatever it is, it's just, I'm still going on my path. It's just about altering it around. So unless I'm like directly affected, and I'm in hospital, bedridden and can't do anything, well, I have to just keep on moving forward. Just because the rest of the world stopped doesn't mean I have to stop.
Yes.
So um yeah, so it's just kind of about that. So just keeping active as well, and just keeping positive, just having that positive spin on everything as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's very important. I like what you said about having a goal, because it's future orientated, and that implies that we will get through this, which we will. And so
Yeah.
therefore having a goal, it gives you if you like, a purpose for literally keeping on, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you got to have your purpose, you got to have your goals, and purpose is different to a goal as well. But yeah, like I've still got my goals, and that doesn't change. you know, people, negative situations and negative people come in and out of your life, and they're always going to. It's just you just keeping true to yourself and keeping passionate about what you're doing and proud of yourself and confident within yourself as well, you know, through the tough times. And I just look at the tough times as, you know, just learning experiences and just how can I grow from it, you know? So it's just about, and a lot of people are doing that. A lot of people are really adapting, and, you know, they're either stepping up, and like yourselves, you know, like we're doing these conversations here on Zoom now. So people are starting to do that. They're using the technology that's out there to their advantage. You know, they're doing a lot of training videos that are helping other people. They're learning to play guitar. They're doing all sorts of stuff, you know. So it's going to hurt the whole world, but a lot of people are going to come out more skilled than they probably would have been before, you know. And it's not that they didn't have the time before. It's just that there's only so much time you can sit around doing nothing and you go, right, I'm going to start doing something, you know. So, you know, that's, people say they don't have time, but everyone's got an hour to go and train or to do something that give back to themselves. And now, because on social media, there's so much of that, then everyone's in that motion and everyone's getting creative with it.
Yeah.
You know, if it's just recording their grandpa doing a dance in the bathroom or whatever it is, you know, but people are starting to get a little bit creative. So and as soon as you start that creative momentum, well, other things just start happening. I think of, right, how can I change my business? How can I change business model? How can I change my jobs? What do I need to do now? You know, it's like, it's not just that survival mode where you go into panic. It's like, it's just that adaptation mode, you know, survival adaptation to be able to keep going, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Damien, if we may, I just wanted to, again, sort of more to the present day, but we've touched upon it, but just briefly, can you better explain for me your work as a humanitarian? Because I'm particularly interested in that as well. This is something that I know is close to your heart, but just briefly, your work as a humanitarian, please.
So pretty much all the events I do, they're all, they've got humanitarian based around them. Like, I don't really raise anything for money. It's all about the message to be able to keep on moving forward. And, you know, it started off as child abuse, but then so many other people were reaching out to me with, you know, suicide, depression, sort of things that's going on in the world, you know, besides this virus, you know. So, you know, it really changed just from being about child abuse in the ocean to, you know, evolved into everyone. You know, this is helping everyone move forward. We all go through adversity, and, you know, there's different levels of what people go through, and like I said, what becomes normal for some people. But, you know, it's doing what I can, and usually whatever country I'm in, I pick a organization that I align with, and I just help promote and do what I can for that organization while I'm there. You know, and then all of my films and the books and everything I do, that all has an underlining current of helping other people and how can I be of service to other people, you know. So for me, I don't want material things or anything like that, you know. It's about how much can I experience in life and how much can I share from those experiences, you know. And like yourself, you know, I mean, you're an incredible guy. Like, you know, the stuff that you've done, you know, and gone through and everything to what you're doing now, you know, it's just, you know, you've done the tough times so other people don't have to, you know. And that's how you keep giving. That's what I love about you. Like, you know, you could have gone one way or you could have gone the other way, and thankfully, you know, you turned everything around, you know, to be able to do what you're doing now. And you're an author and you're a speaker, and, you know, so many different things. And I'm sure you know plenty of people who are in the same position as you who are probably not even here right now, you know. So it's you know, so my hat's always off to you, and I've always got time for you because of what you've done, you know, and who you are now.
No, thank you. That's very kind. I did, as we're sort of coming to a close, Damien, I did want to just ask you a few questions. Just these are just one. Hopefully, there may be a format to these. Are just sort of off the top of my head, but I did want to get in one that was, what's one of the most valuable bits of advice you feel you've been given, my friend?
Definitely to Definite resilience. Resilience and gratitude are the two key things to everyone's life. You know, it's about being appreciate what you've been through in life and what you've come through, and what you've learned from each of those situations and each of those people that you came across, and just being grateful for what you do have now, and what you're able to share with other people.
Yes. Can you remember anyone, either living or that's no longer with us, that has made one of the more positive influences on your life, Damien?
Um, Look, I mean, there's definitely a few. Like when I was growing up skateboarding, you know, there was Bones Brigade that, you know, they were the reason I kept on skating and that. But you know, I was thinking about this today, and one of the biggest changes in my life came from just a couple of words from my ex-wife, and it was the time that I started to really reach out and want to talk about what happened to me as a child. And I remember she just turned around and she just said, "Sort your own fucking shit out yourself." And I was like, "Whoa, that's fucking harsh." You know, someone that you're married to is supposed to love you and everything. You can't even talk to about this stuff, like what's going on. But you know, 2 years later, you know, that voice really resonated to me, and I was just like, you know what? I've tried everyone else's way. I've done what everyone else said to do. I've read all the self-help books and seen all the therapists, and you know, it hasn't worked at all. So it's about time I sort my own fucking shit out myself. And here we are.
Oh, goodness, that is powerful. What else did I want to? There's so many. I knew I should have written these down. There were so many. I, there was. I suppose it's if you could go back and talk to the 11 or 12-year-old Damien about, what would you maybe go and advise him? What would you say to that boy?
Um, Look, I'd probably teach him my one breath meditation technique for starters,
Yeah, yeah.
and that would have helped definitely. But just reassured that he was loved and he was going to get through everything, and he's stronger than he thinks he is right now, and to really focus on something that you enjoy. And I probably would have just said skateboarding or surfing, and just really stuck into that and not got into the drugs and alcohol and all the naughty things that you get up to when you're trying to work shit out, I guess. But yeah, just saying, and also really just be proud of who you are. You know, it took me a long time. It took me till I was 38 to say that I was proud of myself. You know, so it's that was definitely something that got me by surprise after doing the paddle. So yeah, I'd definitely say to him, yeah, just be proud of who you are.
Wow, that is beautiful. And on that note, I mean, I'd like to say that, for what it's worth, I am proud of you and the
Thank
man
you.
that you've grown into, because you know, I can only speak for myself, but I have found your story inspirational, quite moving as well, if I allow myself to feel that, and and just very encouraging. So I wanted to say that, and I wanted to thank you for your time, and as I say, being the person you are, and for your work, because even before this current crisis hit, it's deeply healing, it's necessary, and I truly respect a man or a woman that steps up to that mantle, to actually, to take, if you like, to turn your wounds into wisdom, and maybe your pain into passion. But what you're doing, just, you know, I respect it, and long may it continue, and hopefully we can maybe do this again, because I know me and you could talk for hours
Oh,
and hours.
forever. Yeah.
I wanted to keep this first one just to give the people a little taste of what you're about, and then hopefully, with your permission, we can do it a bit, you know, down the line, and just touch base again, because as you know, with each beautiful conversation we have, you have different nuances, different insights. But no, thank you for your time today, Damien. I really, really appreciate it all.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, it's been a long time coming, like I said, and it's great to chat, and let's make sure we stay in more solid contact along the way.
Definitely, definitely. No, thank you, Damien.
Thanks, mate. All right, we'll speak soon.
Yes, look forward to it, brother.
See you, mate. You.